Hey Moon Dancer, welcome wherever you're at in time and space. I am here with my girl Sydney. We are third month of new moon cycles, and I'm really loving this ritual that we are building together. I'm diving into the new moon, pulling a card, and really just like speaking from the heart of what's happening for us, and hopefully it strikes a chord for you as well. And so wherever you're at, just allow yourself to really soften and ground. This new moon is westernly in the sign of Taurus, Vedically in the sign of Aries, and so to begin, we'll just really ground in. If you're in a position where you can literally sit on the earth, go ahead and find your way there. Put your feet flat on the ground. If you're driving, just imagine that you are touching the earth and that you have roots extending down from your body into the earth, all the way down to the core. Really building this sense of stability, really creating this foundation for this conversation to unfold in a magical, beautiful, fiery way, because this new moon in Aries, according to Vedic astrology, is all about igniting this desire and passion and planting these intentions of what it is that you want to root and then rise. And I keep thinking of like the phoenix rising from the ashes, and the ashes being this kind of like metaphor of like going back into the earth where we came from. And so just allow yourself to really ground into this conversation and allow it to really embody and infuse into every cell of your being, and allow this to really be the foundation for this next month. And so, Sydney, you pulled a card for us. It looks very vibrant, and you were saying before we started that it's sometimes like it's so funny because Ayurvedically, it's like no one wants to be a kapha.
Okay.
And when they find out that they have kapha in them, they're like, ugh, like so disappointed. They think it's such an awful thing. When really, actually, kapha is like mama energy, it's earth energy, it's heavy, it's stable, and people just like don't like that. They associate it with like bad things. It's also interesting, like astrology-wise, it's like there's certain signs, we were talking about it earlier today, like for whatever reason, people think Scorpio and Virgo are kind of these like negative signs to have. And it is interesting because it feels like there's a thread of that in tarot too. Absolutely. Where it's like you get a card and you're kind of like, oh.
There are certain cards that you're just looking at, like, and you look at the image of the card and you're like, this doesn't look good, you know?
So when people get kind of this visceral reaction to particular cards, what is that stirring up in them? And then how do you, as the journey leader, like help soften them into that understanding? And you even said it before, where it's like sometimes you're nervous to pull cards that might necessarily be thought of as like negative or bad, but we need, I mean, life is so like polarized, like we have to have both sides to bring balance. And so I'm curious, just
I would say like when I'm reading for someone and I know that they're going through a difficult time already, and I pull out some cards that maybe they don't necessarily like. There's always a way, I think, to approach speaking to them about it that isn't going to frighten them by what the cards have to say, and instead kind of like lean into the healing that's there. And so I feel like gently is the way that I approach that. But yeah, it's funny, I was thinking to myself, man, I hope I don't pull any bad cards here today, and that didn't happen, so that's good. I don't feel like I definitely don't feel like I'm gonna have to approach this card at least in that way.
Okay. And before you dive into it, I just have a question about tarot. So there's like the upright and then the reverse, and they're very different meanings.
Yes.
And is that something that people should take into account?
I think so. I mean, some people don't like to read reversals, some people do. I read reversals if they're obvious to me that this is coming out in this way. And it is a different meaning, but it's usually just that it means the opposite of what the card really means in the upright, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's different, but it's just the opposing force, essentially.
So could you, because in the book when you read about what card you pulled, could you read both and grab benefit from both sides? Could you see both sides and then start to integrate both?
Yes, most definitely. And then I think too, sorry, I was in my train of thought here. Sorry, keep going. Just lost my little train of thought.
Oh, good. So did you pull this card upward or reverse? Upward. Okay. It looks like it's a very yellow card, which is very sacral chakra, I'm assuming.
Yep, and it's bright, it's happy, and this is, you can tell right away, a positive card. But yeah, definitely sacral chakra, or not sacral,
solar plexus.
Solar plexus, I would say more so.
Yeah.
And solar plexus, that's all about your confidence, right? And I feel like this card is really bursting with that.
And it's interesting because Aries is the solar plexus. It's all about fire and passion and will and courage and bravery. And we were talking just the other day about how a lot of old wounds have been surfacing, and it can be an incredibly intense time right now. And I feel like that's very fire energy.
Yeah.
And throwing those wounds into the fire to use them as fuel rather than allowing it to burn you out, which I think a lot of us are afraid to get burned by fire, so we don't like to play with it. But it can also be very beneficial in transformation, because really transformation is fire.
Yes.
So break this card down. What is it? What do you have for us this month?
It's the Four of Wands. And I like how we just started off this whole podcast with you talking about how you wanted to be grounded and rooted. And so whenever I see the number 4 in any cards, the number 4 is the number of stability. So this is foundation building. But the Four of Wands in particular, this is a card that its energy is foretelling of a very prosperous time that's coming into one's life. It's also kind of a card that represents happy home life and stability within the home. So I feel kind of what this card is telling us as a collective is to really enjoy the pleasures that we have at home, which is we were talking about with Taurus season. We're in the perfect time to enjoy luxuries, and what better way to do that than enjoy the ones that we have in our very home and enjoy the people we have in our home.
It's how fitting.
This is the perfect card to come out on Sunday.
Because as soon as you said stability, I'm okay, Taurus.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting. And Taurus is all about luxury and passion and desire and enjoying your pleasure.
Right.
And I think that's really challenging for most people to soften into that.
Most definitely.
What's your relationship with this card?
Personally, every time I see this card, it's kind of a reminder to me that everything you have is at home already, and everything that you need. So as long as you're good there, you're good in all other areas as well. So I think it's just a good card as a reminder that everything's right in front of you all the time, and you just kind of have to take notice of it.
One of my favorite quotes is, when you make friends with yourself, your soul is free. And when your soul is free, you realize everything you've been seeking for externally already lays in your own home. And that is so Taurus. So what's your relationship with Taurus? And what's your relationship with Aries?
Interesting. I have a very little relationship with Taurus, I would say. It's even people in my life, I don't know many of them, which is so funny, and I joke about that all the the time. I think I have like one strong placement in Taurus. I feel like it might be my Saturn. So it's interesting that we're talking about this because Saturn is that like planet of opposition, right? So maybe there's something that I would need to learn in it because it's like we were talking about earlier. Being a Virgo, you never really just like rest and enjoy things, and like I have the hardest time being at home and like just relaxing and resting, and I feel like maybe that's something that I need to learn in it, and I need to lean into allowing myself to like have that time to relax and enjoy. And I feel like Taurus is the embodiment of that, you know? Some people say that like Taurus is a lazy sign, or like they say, you know, these negative things, and that's just not true. I think it's that they just truly know how to relax and let be.
Yeah, which it's interesting that you say that because a couple of days ago we were talking about worth, our self-worth, and how we struggle with that. And I think for me, like relaxing is really challenging for me because I feel like I find my worth in doing. Like I'm constantly doing to then justify my worthiness here on this planet. And it's really challenging for me to not do anything because it brings up and stirs up these feelings of unworthiness, like, oh, you're a lazy piece of shit, or whatever. And it's interesting because the Taurus is the bull, and they're heavy, and they're solid, and they're foundational, and that is very like challenging, and it's a very challenging sign because they are so stubborn and stuck in their ways. But then on the other hand, they bask in these like luxurious, like it's interesting. You don't know me, Tauruses. My husband is a Taurus, and then the guy I dated before my husband was also a Taurus. Very different Taurus energies, but it's so funny because Blake is like the most like luxurious person. He is like very slow and like likes to take his time, and he loves like nice things, good food. Like he always makes fun of me because like when I go grocery shopping, he's like, buy the name brand saran wrap, like buy the good shit. And he'll even put it like on our grocery list, like buy the good shit, like spend the money.
Yeah.
And that's also like very Taurus, where it's like this abundance attitude, and we were talking about that also the other day, where it's like I feel like my entire life lived in like a scarcity mindset, whereas my husband is the exact opposite, and he is like take everything, everything's gonna come back to me. And so I've really been trying to, because the card that we pulled last month was all about balance. Right. And so I've really been trying to balance that scarcity mindset with a more abundant attitude. And it's really scary to do that. And I find that I get a little jealous towards him because he has no problem doing that. Yeah. And I wish that I could be more like that. And so this past month, I really have been trying to find balance in things. Yeah. And it's just interesting because when we pull these cards and it brings yourself into awareness, it's like, I didn't realize how unbalanced my life was. So when we're looking at this card, what would you say that the focus for this month should be for us? Last month was all about balance. This month, what should we be kind of bringing into our awareness?
Really just a time to enjoy what's happening around you and in front of you. I mean, like I said, the first thing that I thought of that I think of whenever I see this card is really just a prosperous time that's happening. And it's like, it's very gentle, I think, after the eclipses that we had and everything, all the kind of chaos from last month, and like we were talking about the residuals from those eclipses. So I feel like this is, a way of the universe telling us it's time to slow down and relax and just be in this moment and enjoy it while it's here, because it's going to change again next month.
It's going to change again. It's really interesting because I never put this together, but Mother's Day is like in this time. And it is, I think all moms have a hard time relaxing and chilling. And I always like laugh because like you see the like memes out there and you know, on Mother's Day, it's like have the whole family over and you do all this. On Father's Day, it's like peace out, I'm going golfing.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, shout out to all the moms out there, like this is your open invitation to ask for the spa day, to get a facial, to go in the float tank, to, you know, indulge in a yin restorative class, to go shopping, to spend some money, to eat some food that tastes really fucking good, like do all of the things that bring you pleasure, but without the guilt.
Right.
I think that's really challenging for most women and moms out there, is removing the guilt. I know that's really hard for me. So does this card have like an essence of, I mean it's yellow, which is solar plexus, and so it's like that is kind of like throw the guilt into the fire. Almost.
And embody it, you know what I mean? Whenever I think of the solar plexus, I always think of like who you are. Like we talk about how it's your confidence coming through. So I feel like if you can lean into this energy of just peace and contentment and also celebration, that's really gonna help out this month, I think.
And I feel like celebration is very.
I mean, that's another thing that this card really does represent. You see like two people kind of back here, and they got their arms up, they got the flowers, and it almost looks like this was like a wedding orange or something. So it really is like that's where people get that happy home life energy from this card.
I love that. They literally look like, yes!
That's it.
Like they got a little pom-pom, just like going. So, okay, I have more questions on the tarot deck. So, we have this card pulled for the whole month. And then, like, is it safe to pull a card a day? Do you need to have like an intention behind it, or can you just be like, show me what I need right now?
I think it's helpful. Yeah, but that is an intention right there. You know, what do I need to see right now? What do I need to reflect upon right now? You know, and I do that for myself pretty much every day, almost every day, when I feel like I need direction. So it really is all about like whatever you're asking, whatever you're intending to see. But I see no problems with wanting to pull a card every day. You can pull multiple cards every day, but it's learning how to read those together to give you one cohesive message. But that's kind of confusing when you're learning, I would say.
Yeah. So does it matter like what deck that you use, or are decks like, you know, like say you go online and you're looking at all these decks, and I just got one the other day and it was like black and it had like a bunch of gold and silver and like kind of foiled a little bit, and that's like very much what I'm attracted to. And the pictures are really beautiful and it's very neutral, and that's like what I love. And then my other deck that I had was like the Wild Unknown, and then I have another like spirit animal deck because I love spirits and I love animals and I love all of that. But then there's other decks like you kind of just scroll past and you're just like, I don't really like the way it looks. And so I'm sure like what you're attracted to like pulls in, and then that energy of whoever created that deck is in use of what you need at that time.
Right.
So any deck that you're attracted to is probably the deck for you.
I would say so. And I would say when you're first learning tarot, and I think we talked about this in like one of the first podcasts, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is really, I think most readers' first deck that they really start learning off of, and that's because it just has the most basic imagery, I think, of the cards, and the most accurate imagery to representation of what, you know, the textbook meanings of the cards are. So I would say that it's easier to start learning to read on a deck like this, and then once you're comfortable with all of the imagery in the cards, and you have, you know, you don't even need to see the image of the card, you just need to hear it to know, oh, that's what this card means. That's when you can start moving on to the other decks.
Okay.
Because the other decks are, a lot of times, you know, artists or readers' interpretation of those cards in a different way, right? So you have to like relearn that particular meaning, right? And you can still, of course, bring in all of the other meanings that you've already learned and all the ones that you formulated for yourself, but it can get confusing.
Okay.
So I would say start with what you like best, if that's, if you prefer to read from something like this, or just learn one singular deck first.
And then
move on. Yeah.
Okay.
But I would just say that, like I said, the Rider-Waite-Smith or the Universal Weight, they're both really similar. Those are like some of the best starting off points when you're getting into learning and understanding the cards.
I love that. So what do you think you're going to do to embody this deck, this particular card this month?
I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna enjoy time with my kids, and family. Yeah.
And is that challenging for you to normally do?
I feel like I always have, that voice in the back of my head that's like, you need to be doing more, you need to be doing something,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's difficult for me to stay present sometimes, I would say, in that enjoyment.
Yeah.
So, I feel like this is a really good reminder for me. I'm gonna be thinking about this all month. Like, you said you would relax. You said you would enjoy this time.
I think it's really hard for me too to like be in the joy, because I always have this like looming fear of like the rug's gonna pull under from under me, and it all circles back to like this idea of like self-worth. Like I'm not worthy to feel this joy, and I also have been really trying, and it's really great that this card was pulled, because I have been trying to find more balance in like the little moments of life, and I have like most people have like an addiction to my phone, of like looking on Instagram or Facebook or Pinterest or going down different astrology tunnels and articles, and it's like you have this amazing life in front of you. Like put your phone down.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to break that. I also have a very addictive personality just in general. And so what I'm taking from this card is like be out in your life and enjoy your life. Like put your phone in your bedroom and like really look at your kids and see them and see, the folds in their ears and the dimples when they smile and like the tear dropping down their eyes when they're crying. Like really be in the moment with them and take away all of the other bullshit. It's really what it all is. It's like all of this bullshit. And it's like I have to really start to ask myself, like, what am I escaping from? Like, why am I afraid to be here? And I really do think it comes down to this idea where it's like, I don't feel worthy to have this in my life. Like, I posted this story on my, it was like a reel on my Instagram page, and it was like 3 photos of me from the past, when I was very unhealthy, when I was an addict, and when I was very low in my life, and it's very evident in the pictures. And then I have a like short video of me just kind of like dancing like after class when I felt really good on Friday after flow. And in it, I was just kind of talking about this transformation over the last like 15 years that I've gone through, and like when I met my husband, it's like still to this day I do not know what he saw in me in that moment, because what I saw was someone that was very unlovable, that there was nothing there to love. And I still feel like I have this like projection of that comes forward, and I'm sure most people have this projection of unworthiness, and it's something that like I feel like most people don't talk about, because then it's like, oh, well, you're not grateful for what you have, or whatever. And I feel like that also then just piles more kind of like wetness on top of the fire, and then it's like, then you're just kind of fucked in terms of like transforming and allow, and I think there's so much value in like looking back and seeing where you came from and where you're at now, and then also staying in the present. Because I think for so many of us, we look in the past and then we look in the future, and we so much so forget to look at where we're at right now, because that requires us to pause and be in the moment, which is really hard to do.
It's crazy that you can even like compare yourself to your past and your future as well, you know?
Yeah.
Comparison really is the thief of joy.
It is.
So it's like when we can stay away from all of that, it'll center us a little bit more.
And it's tough, and I feel like, for me, it's like, why do I feel like my phone is more important than my children?
Yeah.
Why do I feel like cleaning is more important than my children?
Right.
Like, I'll always be like, just give me a second, just 1 second, and it's like, I have to very much be like, put it down and immerse yourself in what's happening right now, and I'm sure when I do that more frequently, it'll build more joy, happiness, worthiness, and it's like, it's so hard because we are just so addicted to these like little tiny computers that we hold on to. And I see it in like the younger generation, they're just always on their phone, and I would hate for my, and I feel like my kids probably think I'm always on my phone too. So this month I'm really going to focus on setting it down and being joyful in the moment with my kids, even if it's a challenging situation where it's like, okay, what can I take from this rather than numbing and escaping from it? Which I hope most people struggle with that as well. Like, I don't think I'm alone in that.
No, not at all.
I think that's also why Kundalini is so hard, because it's like, we're right here, right now. You can't escape this. You have to focus and move through and breathe through whatever is surfacing, and you can't jet to the past, and you can't go forward into the future. Like, it's right here, you and me, and this is what we're fucking doing. And that is hard. And even I found today we did a new Kundalini class prior to this, and even the slowing down of the class I found is pretty challenging for me. Although yin and slow flow are like two of my favorite styles of yoga to practice, I've noticed that it is rather challenging to do those practices. So I'm curious how you feel after practice today.
I feel good. It was funny because I also usually struggle with like the slower classes. I'm like, alright, let's pick it up, you know, because I'm so used to doing hot flows or whatnot. But I loved this. I told you, it was a very luxurious flow. I felt like I really gave my body what it needed. And I don't know, I feel like it was a good start to like this energy that I want to take on of just, you know, slowing down and enjoying things and allowing my body to feel the grace that I got in that flow was just, awesome. Yeah.
Because internally, what I was thinking the whole time was like, is this enough for people?
I love it.
It's like, and it's just so interesting, these battles that we fight within ourselves. And when I was talking with I'm in this, it's called like emergence therapy, and it's about like what you want to let go so you can step like into your future like confidently and boldly. And yesterday she was talking about like projection, and I'm a huge projector in a negative way. And I remember I went on this trip with my husband, and I only thought of the bad things that could happen. And I remember he kept saying, well, Mandy, you're only thinking the negative. Why don't you think about all the good things that potentially could happen? And I never go there. I'm always going to negative. And I know that we as humans are hardwired to go to negative as like a defense and protection mechanism. But it's really tough to like go into the positive. So then like, you know, I'm up here playing the gongs at the end of class, and I'm thinking, oh my god, did they hate it? Was it too slow? Did I not plan it well enough? Because I even was struggling with how to structure the class. And then, like I told you before we recorded, I finally was like, okay, I'm just gonna take a cue from the cosmos, and like Taurus is all about grounding and trusting your wisdom, and Aries is all about like stepping into your courage and your bravery. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go into this class and like not really have anything planned and just like let it happen. Which then I think the Virgo-ness in me is like, well, it wasn't perfectly curated, and so then it's like I immediately think I hated it, it wasn't good enough, and then these working it, and it's all just like so wrapped in. And it was funny because like I had this chick say to me the other day, she's like, oh my gosh, I would have never thought that those are like the thoughts that you have. Like you seem like you come off really confident, and it's like inside of my mind, it actually takes a lot. I don't have a ton of Aries in my chart, and it takes a lot for me to like step into like confidence.
Oh yeah.
And so is it hard for you as well?
1,000%, yeah. Yeah, I feel like I'm always battling like that internal critic that's just like keeping me from doing the things that I, want to do, but we're getting past that.
It's like the biggest self-sabotage.
Yeah,
And
Aries is the fire starter. People with a lot of Aries in their chart are very fortunate in that sense. I think Aries can get a bad rep, but it's a great sign that has a lot of motivation backing it.
Well, and I find that I get actually pretty like jealous of people that have a lot of Aries energy because I don't, and I'm just like, how could you just like say that?
I know, my dad's an Aries. Crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
You're just like, you have no problem like
Yeah.
just say
No.
Whereas like for me, it's like I have to rehearse it, rewrite it a million times.
I'm so worried about what everyone else is gonna think about what I just said.
Yeah.
100%.
And it is so interesting because both our like jobs and careers are like so outward facing into the world, and it just makes me laugh because I'm like, I have like hardly any fucking fire in me, and like our like career is all kind of like fire driven, but maybe that's like how I find balance. It's like forcing me to do that.
It's like that's I feel like you don't come into this life where things are set up easy for you. It's so that you have to challenge yourself in the ways that you hate the most, so that you can step into that like greatest potential, right?
Yeah, it is very tough though. I feel like negativity is so strong, so this card is so perfect because it's like, let go of the negativity.
It's such a radiant card. Like I was just so happy when this came out.
Yeah, just like step into the celebration. I love that you said that it is, because I think we always forget that like life is actually one big party.
It's a party. We came here to have fun.
Yeah. And I think of the 4 goals or desires according to like Ayurveda, and literally number 1 is kama, which is pleasure. And that's a part of life. And to tie it back to last month, it's like, but finding balance in that, because you can't overindulge or underindulge, and then that pulls you out of balance. And I am very much all or nothing. I will either overindulge until it makes me sick, or I'll underindulge until it makes me sick. And then I slingshot between the two.
I do the same exact thing.
Everyone
knows our Virgo
nature. It's annoying as fuck.
Yes.
I'm like, why? I always say like, why am I the fucking way that I am?
Yeah.
But like you said a couple episodes ago, it's like when it's in your awareness, then you have a better ability to like pull yourself back in. And so this card in my like awareness is like, okay, but just like keep circling back to like joy, keep circling back to love, keep circling back to like your home. And I appreciate that you said that, because I have been such a homebody lately, and like the last couple of years, really since becoming a mom, I've been like a homebody, where before I would like always be out and about. But I was thinking, and I had made it in my post that I posted the other day, it's like, did I actually enjoy going out and partying, or was that me buying connection, buying friendship, because I didn't enjoy myself? And so I feel like this card is like, enjoy you and what you have and what you've built.
Yes.
So is that something that you have struggled with in your life as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like I used to go out I'm definitely a homebody now, and I have been for a few years now. I think when I first started living by myself, that's when I really realized, like, oh, I don't really like to go out and do things all the time. Like, I really like being at home alone, you know? And it was hard at first, but, you know, you get used to it. And I think it's been a big struggle for me now to like want to go out and explore more when I have so much comfort at home. So I'm really loving Scar being here and that being our advice because it's a good one.
It's like don't feel guilty about it.
Right.
Just like
No. And that's definitely what I struggle with more than anything is the guilt. So
what do you do when you fall into this kind of guilt spiral? How do you like pull yourself out of it?
pull myself out
And
of it.
what are some practices that you really
I get into my body. I lean on Kundalini a lot because that's just immediately it's going to wake me up from whatever state that I'm in. Even, you know, when I'm down bad, I feel like that's the practice that I use that just immediately shifts my energy to something different. And it's like sometimes I'll do a Kundalini practice and then I'm just in awe at the realization that I don't feel the same way that I did before. And it's almost like, why did I feel that way? Why was I having those feelings? You know, what even made them surface? So it's just kind of like a clean slate wiper for me.
Yeah.
But I would say I do a lot of physical grounding techniques. Like I need to go outside to like get out of these. The feelings of guilt kind of like create, you know, this big jumbled mess in my head. So I like need a physical way to like pull myself out of my head, right? I remember that those thoughts aren't me. Those are just, you know, completing manifestations that are something completely separate from what I really am.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember when my teacher said that we have like 72,000 thoughts a day, and those are not who we are. Who we are the thoughts that we choose to latch onto. And I always tend to latch on to like negative thoughts about myself, but I always latch on to positive thoughts about everyone else, which I always think is so interesting, where it's like, it's so easy for me to like cheer everyone else on and motivate everyone else and like love everyone else, but it's incredibly hard for me to flip that on myself.
Yeah. And that's why I think I go for like the physical, you know, whenever I'm getting into that place, because it's just like, it's the one sure way that I can give myself love, and I know that I'm going to receive it, you know, instantly. So it's just,
I love that you just said that, because movement for me is like that nectar of juice that I'm able to give myself when I don't feel love for myself. And it really is miraculous how different that you feel.
yeah.
And when I talk to people and they're like, oh no, I don't work out, I don't walk, I don't do yoga, I don't do anything. And it's like, I can't even imagine what it feels like to be inside of themselves. Where they, you know, it's like, that's where you connect with yourself, is through movement. There's a book called The Joy of Movement, and she talks about how literally moving your body creates chemicals, like feel-good chemicals that rush through your body. And if you look at it from like an Ayurvedic standpoint, it's like kapha, that's like such kapha energy of like not wanting to move, to be lazy, to be like very unmotivated, and then like increases like, and so then you just keep sitting on the couch and eating the potato chips and doing all the things, and you just keep feeling shit, keep feeling shit, keep feeling shit. And you have to get yourself up and moving. You have to do the opposite, and that I think is really challenging for people to just like force themselves.
Yeah.
But it really takes like commitment and ritual. And I think that's why this sadhana practice has been so life-changing for me, because it's like, nope, you made this commitment, you're doing it every single day, and I always feel so much better after. On Wednesday night, I wasn't feeling good at all, and I hadn't done my sadhana yet. It was like 9:30, got the girls to bed, and I was like, maybe I'll just do it for like 1 minute each, like each posture for 1 minute each. I'm doing the create a conquer limiting beliefs because I'm really struggling with that. And I was like, I'll just do it for 1 minute. And then when I sat down, I was like, no, just do it for, it's like 3 postures, so it's gonna take 9 minutes total, just do it. And I felt so much better after I did it. And it's like that Aries, that fire, that commitment that you need to make to yourself. And so, do you have a sadhana practice right now that you're relatively committed to?
I started a new one. I think I was talking about this a couple weeks ago, where I was doing nidra every night. So that's my commitment to myself, is that I'll do at least, I don't know, I do your nidras, so I mean, they're anywhere from like 15 minutes to like something like 30 minutes or so. So I would say and I do legs up the wall, so that's my
Legs at the wall. If anyone could take anything away from any yogic philosophy, it's like put your legs up the wall every single day for 6 minutes if you can. It's so grounded. It grounds everything back into your heart space. So I'm curious, okay, how are you feeling after practicing nidra every single day?
I love it. I sleep so well.
Do you notice a difference in like your memory at all?
I wouldn't say no.
Okay.
No, not yet.
Okay.
But I mean, I feel like it's only been like a month that I've really been doing the nidra every night. But I think when I first started doing 7-2, I was mainly doing nidra, and I feel like it really just helped me a whole bunch. But then I kind of flip-flopped between doing nidra and kundalini and switching between that, you know, just kind of whatever I liked. But I can say that I'm definitely waking up a lot easier in the morning from doing nidra, which is great, and I'm sleeping through the night more, because I was having a big problem waking up like every couple hours, and it was just terrible.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I remember the very first time I did nidra, Kamini Desai, who her father was really one of the men that brought nidra to the West. He started the Kripalu Center in Massachusetts, and he also fell into the shadow side of things. He was basically exiled from the Kripalu Center because he was having relationships with other women in the community, and he was married, and there was all this kind of controversy and this like pull of power and this kind of fall from grace that he had. And that's a story we hear over and over and over again in most spiritual communities, and not even necessarily spiritual communities, but communities that have like a power structure.
For sure.
And it was really interesting because she had come here to Omaha, and I drove her back and forth from the training, so I got this like intimate time with her. And I asked her about her dad, and one, I was really proud that I had asked her, because that's not in my personality to like bring up something like this, but I was just really curious. And she said, you know, one, I really appreciate that you asked me about this, like that you were bold enough to ask me instead of making your own assumptions. And she had said that her father ended up starting a new center down in Florida, the Amrit Institute of Yoga. And she said that his fall from grace was actually the biggest wake up that he could have, because he did put himself up on this pedestal. And when he fell down from it, it made him and other people around him realize that, oh, I'm only human. I'm human just like you. And when she had said that, it made me feel so much more like seen from kind of my fall from grace as I dove into addiction. And he had this kind of rebirthing, which is interesting because it's a new moon, and new moons are always about rebirthing. But he basically had this soul searching journey. He made, you know, his kind of, you know, repented and like said his, you know, apologies to everyone, and like really kind of got back on track. And then he started this center in Florida, of which he still to this day teaches public classes. He's like in his upper 90s.
Wow.
And still teaches classes. And his daughter, Kami, goes around the world and she teaches their kind of version of yoga and nidra, which is I am yoga nidra is what it's called. And I remember laying in the nidra, she's guiding us through it. I'm like, this isn't working. And then all of a sudden I hear her say, come back. So I obviously went somewhere else. And when I'm driving home, I was just like crying because it was that kind of voided space that I was looking for when I was an addict. It was that kind of altered consciousness of connecting with source, God, whatever, that I was looking for, and it was like, holy fuck, like I can go there without having to use substances to get me there. And so I was hooked on it. And then as I studied it and got deeper into the practice, it was like, this is the life hack. Yoga nidra is literally the life hack. It helps heal on all 5 layers of the body, the physical body, the emotional breath body, the mental body, the wisdom body, the bliss body. You're able to heal without having to re-experience. And I think that was my problem with like talk therapy for so long, was that I was like, I don't want to go back there.
Right.
I don't want to relive this time and time again. I'm trying to get over it. And that's what I loved about nidra, where it was just like you can move through it without having to re-experience it. And then all of the other benefits that come with it, you know, increased memory, increased gray matter in your brain, increased awareness and heightened sense of who you are. And so now I'm very inspired to do nidra more frequently. I probably practice it like twice a week, but I think it's really cool that you're doing it every day. So besides sleeping better and waking up with more energy, have you noticed any subtle shifts from practicing for the last month now? Because that's about like 20, 30 days, and they say, you know, to do a sadhana for 40, 90, 120, upwards to 1,000. And so I'm just interested to hear the shift.
I feel like I was experiencing such a disconnection from myself. Like I wasn't reading as much, I wasn't like connecting with spirit, I wasn't interpreting the signs the way that I usually do, and I feel like it very much like turned me back online, if that makes sense. That's the best way that I could explain it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I feel like after the first week of doing that, I kind of started to feel like the subtle shift a little bit more, and then you know, when you feel like you're in alignment, it helped kind of allow me to feel that again, because I was really just thrown for a loop in the last few months.
So when you go into that kind of like shadow side, what does that look like for you? And how were you able to recognize those so then you could start this practice to pull you out of it?
That's interesting. It looks like a lack of motivation for me. It looks like doom scrolling. It looks like, you know, just being lazy. And I think it's funny because that's like the number one thing that I'm more scared of than anything is being lazy. And then when I am, it's like I can't allow myself to do that. I can't enjoy it. So we're just not having fun all around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I would say it looks like. But
so this month and this card in particular is really asking us to redefine what rest means, to remove the laziness. And it is interesting that people say Tauruses are lazy when in fact they're not.
No.
And so it's this month us focusing on this redefinition of what rest, enjoyment, pleasure, and celebration is. So what advice would you give to all of us to embody that redefinition? And what do you think like we can do to help in that redefining, if that makes sense?
Do the things that feel best to you in the moment. That's what I would say.
With no guilt.
With no
and no shame.
No guilt, no shame.
I think it's really interesting because I think for a lot of people, they don't even know what they like. Especially for, like, it's like I'm always kind of like, I'm very indecisive. And so it's like, you make the decision. And I think it's because I fear that what decision I make, the other people won't like.
Yeah.
And so this card is like, fuck that fear. Just go with what you like, and if those people don't like it, then they don't have to do it.
Yeah. Don't be people pleasing. You are the people you need to be pleasing.
My chest is like closing.
Yeah.
I'm like, in my body, I'm literally like, in a ball right now. So I'm like, God, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
So really, I guess this card is really saying just open up. Let yourself sit in who you are, confidently, Aries, and like with this grounded nature.
Right.
So it's this play between earth and fire.
And fire, yeah. The wands are all representative of fire, but you can see there's even like earthly element within the card too, so I think that's a great descriptive.
Which makes it's really interesting because that all kind of ties back to last month too, because earth is like feminine, moon, like yin, and then fire is masculine, solar, and it's it's just like find that balance of the two. And so that I feel like is really just the thread and theme of all life is like, where can you find balance?
Yeah.
And how can you balance that imbalance through doing these different practices that feel in alignment and attuned to like what you need? Because obviously Kundalini isn't for everyone, we know.
Right.
Nidra isn't for everyone, although it can be, because literally anybody can practice Nidra. But maybe it's like you said, walking in nature, weightlifting, maybe it's doing art, maybe it's like, and I'm really interested because you love the cards. Are you a creative person, and would you ever design your own deck?
I feel like I'm not an artistic person at all. That's Andrew, my partner. He definitely has all that. So I think in collaboration with him, I probably could. I'm more of a visionary. I can see things, but I'm not good at the like practical application of them.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would. I've definitely thought about it. Him and I have discussed it. So.
Would you, just to kind of wrap up our call, you said this card's kind of about enjoying your home life and the pleasures of home, and so us that have kiddos, do you introduce tarot to your daughter?
Yeah.
And are there like kids tarot cards?
I don't know. I've never thought about that. Violet's like slowly introduced into this whole realm of things. I mean, like I have a completely separate room that's like meditation and tarot, like altar space, all of that. So she plays in there every day, and so she's slowly introduced to things, and when she asks questions, I answer them. But I just am kind of letting her come around to all of it on her own. I don't want to push something like this on her because I feel like
then she might pull.
Right, and I would want that to happen. And the way I was raised, like we've talked about this, I was raised Catholic. My mom was a Catholic, and she never really pushed any religion on me. And so when I would come home with questions, she would say, "You don't have to believe what any of these people are telling you. You believe what sounds good to you and what resonates with you most." So I kind of feel like I'm taking that approach with Violet on a lot of things, in the spiritual realm.
I do the same, and there is nothing that makes my heart explode more than like when my girls just like get in a down dog randomly, or like yesterday when we were leaving Junkstop, Poppy's like, "Turn on Satnam, Waheguru, Waheguru," and I'm just like, yes. Because we just didn't have that. I also was raised Catholic, and I think that there's a lot of like unworthiness wrapped into just religion of all sorts, and I think that's like kind of our work on this planet now, and even like the Pope that just passed kind of challenged those like old thoughts of like what Catholicism was, and people world over have their thoughts of him, and I always thought, like, God, what a brave person to really challenge this religion that is can be very traumatizing to people and limiting. And as I'm like unpacking, my own shit, it's like, oh, okay, well, this was drilled into me from a young girl, like, your actions are shameful around pleasure, around wanting to feel good or your desires, and it's like, that's, for so long we were taught that that's something to be ashamed of. And it's this idea of like rewilding yourself into this idea. And it's also, can you find balance? Because there is a lot of beautiful things about religion. There's a lot of really healthy and great things that you can take from it. But just like everything, like, it can throw you off balance if you get lost in it. And so, again, this card is just kind of like celebrating all the aspects of life and pulling in all the pleasures without any guilt, without any shame, and just enjoying who you are, which can be very challenging. So what is your goal for this month based off this card?
To be really focused on my baby and just really, I don't know, enjoying my playtime with her more than usual, staying off my phone, and allowing myself to just kind of be present.
Okay, so we're making a verbal commitment to each other to get the fuck off the phone.
Yeah, it's so bad right now.
It's a problem.
I get it.
It is a problem, and I think it's a problem for most people out there. So if you are listening out in podcast land, make this commitment with us. Get off your phone and have a buddy. You're gonna be my buddy. I'm gonna use my phone to text you and say, Sydney, tell me to put it down. And then you'll respond back, put it down, I'm gonna go put it in my room, and I'm just going to be present. And so I'm interested to hear how we both feel next month. Kind of releasing the phone.
I tried doing like that screen time blocking and all of that, and I don't even have social media, so it's like, what the hell am I doing on my phone? I have YouTube. I haven't been on social media in like 6 years, and I still somehow find myself scrolling through YouTube. And watching video after video. And I'm like, this is just ridiculous.
Down the tunnel.
What did I retain from that?
I need to like really, because like obviously listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks, listening to YouTube videos that are of benefit, kind of on your dharmic path are great. And that's the stuff that I'm going to keep. But it's the doom scrolling, like you said, and then I remember my teacher saying, like, what is it that you're looking for when you are in that spiral of like doom scrolling, of like shopping? It's like what we're really looking for is connection. And so putting it down and like talking to your partner that's literally sitting right next to you, or putting it down and, like you said, getting out in nature, getting down on the ground and doing some sort of movement class, breath class, turning on a nidra, like whatever it is, like catching yourself sooner so you don't spiral down deeper, and really asking yourself, like, what am I looking for?
Because the amount of guilt that comes after you do that doom scroll and just you're completely down the rabbit hole, you're just like, oh my god, I just wasted all of this time. Why did I do that?
All of this time. I think about that all the time. It's like, my stream of like, you spent 5 hours a day on your phone, and it's like, oh my god, like, it's very real how much time we waste, and it's like, okay, pick up a book instead.
That's what
I
I tell myself.
Millions of books on my bookshelf. Just pick up your fucking book instead. Or do the class. You always say, I don't have time to do an hour class, and it's like, well, obviously you have 5 hours. You got 5 hours to do something. Or like go to the grocery store and like cook really good food that makes you feel happy and joyful, and celebrate this like this one life that we have. Alright, well, Sydney, this was very eye-opening for me. We've made commitments for ourselves to put it away, put the phone away, and enjoy space and time right now, right here. We are worthy of it. We will plant, root, and rise this month into the fullness that we are, and accepting that we deserve it and are worthy of it. That is our takeaway from this. I hope that that is something that you take away as well. And I'm very much looking forward to our next new moon episode in a month from now.
Me too.
Yay. Have a wonderful day. Love, love, love. Great, I think that was awesome.
I think I'm good too.
Yeah, we're getting
There's a
there.
couple times I was like, I just completely plundered, but it's fine.
That's alright. I do the same ramble, but
I know.
it is what it is.
I'm like a space cadet today too. I'm like, I can't keep it one train of thought, so I hope something good came out of there.
I think something great came out of it.
Yeah, no, completely. It was all very cohesive. It's funny how all of it just really did kind of fall into place.